Welcome to another archetype spotlight for my Magic the Gathering cube. This time I wanted to talk about the Simic pairing. Simic is known for card draw, ramp, tempo, and value, but it's a very weird pairing. Out of all of the color combinations, blue and green seem to have the least in common. Green's all about big creatures and permanence, and blue is very much on the side of the non-creature spells, instants, and sorceries, and small little cantrips. And so they don't really have a lot of overlap. And so when you try to pair them together, it gets a little awkward. They don't really overlap much mechanically. So for my cube, I went and built it around +1/+1 counters. The thought process was, well, blue can supplement with proliferate effects and possibly other types of counters that can be proliferated, like stun counters. But with all that being said, blue still feels like it takes a back seat in this color pairing, and green is doing all of the heavy lifting with the counter synergies, which is to be expected. It's not flashy, but it works decently. But I'll be honest, green in general has just been a very tough color to make work in this cube. Its strengths just feel uninspired, like ramp, landfall type synergies. It's just rewarding you for doing the most basic things in the game, which is playing lands. And that was the reason why I dropped landfall from red-green. And while counters can feel similarly generic, they give you some decisions to make and help increase your board presence, so they're doing something. So Simic counters is a serviceable archetype. It's not the most exciting archetype in the cube, but it's the most functional out of all of the green pairings in my cube, which is not saying a lot, honestly, because the Golgari life gain theme and the Selesnya humans theme are both very weak. The red-green auras modified theme is a little stronger, but I wouldn't say I'm happy with any of them. Simic is, as I said, is the strongest, but the competition's not that great. But if I were to break down and talk about why I went in this direction, it's just because there was enough overlap. It wasn't as balanced as I would have liked, but more so than most other things you'd be doing in Simic. Some of the standout cards, though, is I like Ingenious Prodigy. It's one of the few blue X spells in the cube. It's a threat that can start out big but shrink while drawing you cards. It pairs really well with proliferate effects. Ledger Shredder is just an all-star, another card draw engine that loots, flies, and grows the longer it's out there. As far as proliferation goes, you've got Flood Pit's Drowner and Mercurial Spelldancer, and those both offer novel targets for proliferation aside from the standard +1/+1 counters. Murktide Regent and Kappa Cannoneer are both big finishers in other archetypes for Spellslinger and Artifacts respectively, but they both work here because they do have some synergies with +1/+1 counters and can grow bigger over time through your proliferation effects or other effects. There's some good early game plays like Terramander, which can start small early but gets big by the late game. But most of the blue cards, that's kind of where it ends. Green has a lot more going for it on the counter synergies thing. You've got Champion of Lambhold, Kami of Whispered Hopes, and Park Heights Maverick, which all scale well with counters and can add a lot of pressure. Scavenging Ooze and Cankerbloom are flexible 2-drops with additional removal utility. Aganosaur Rex is a strong body with an alternate option which can offer protection to one of your creatures. Mossborn Hydra, Voracious Hydra, and Colonial Hydra are 3 massive payoffs that really make the deck worth it. Evolution Sage is your premier proliferation support. It's arguably one of the most important synergy pieces in the whole archetype. And as far as non-creature spells, you have things like Ranger Class, which gives steady value and counters. Titania's Command, Season of Gathering, and the Great Hinge are all big spells that can help you stabilize and overwhelm your opponents with value. Inscription of Abundance is a very flexible card that can be used for removal. As far as the signpost cards go, you've got Elusive Otter, which is an efficient early drop that scales with non-creature spells, and Hydrate Krasis, which is just a classic Simic card, draws cards, gains life, scales with mana, and just fits the theme perfectly. So those are the signpost cards. When a drafter sees those, they'll know that there's a counters theme in the cube. Simic counters is not going to win any awards for innovation. It's been a real struggle to find any cube themes for green that I like. I've thought about pivoting Simic to a flash theme built around instant speed interaction, but green just doesn't have enough flash creatures that I want to play to support it. That's one where blue would be doing all the heavy lifting and green would just be kind of tacked on. And that's where I find a lot of the struggle is the themes that blue and green do together. There's not a ton of overlap. It's either blue is taking the lion's share of the cards, like with flash spells, or green's taking the majority of the cards with counters. So this is where I landed. Green brings the counters, blue brings proliferate and card advantage. The Simic deck works even if it's a little bland. It's not flashy, but it can hang with the faster archetypes and grind out wins against the slower ones. And sometimes that's enough. Thank you for listening. I would love to hear what Simic draft archetypes you run in your cubes. Do you do flash? Something else? Have you found a way to make counters feel a little more balanced between green and blue? Because I'm still working on that. But I don't know if I will change this one up. I'm not as in a hurry to change this as I am some of the other color pairings. This one seems to do decent enough work right now, even if it's feels a little uninspired. But if something better comes along, I'll definitely be interested in making a change. But that's all for now. Thank you so much for listening. And as you see, this cube is by no means perfect or complete. There's still a lot of room for improvement, but I kind of wanted to show where I am right now. And it's already gone through, close to 1,000 changes over the years, just from switching out a few cards here and there as new sets are released. But I can see making more updates to this in the future and presenting follow-up videos as more changes come with new set releases and possibly whole new draft archetypes as things get moved around. But that's all for now. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it, and I'll have more videos out later. Take care. Bye.